If our ancestors needed systems to survive physical darkness, why do we think we can survive emotional darkness with motivation alone? Think about brushing your teeth. Most mornings, you probably don't wake up feeling inspired to brush your teeth. You simply do it, not because motivation appeared, but because it has become part of your system. Systems don't collapse in a single day. They slowly weaken. What if the biggest reason so many people struggle with their mental health isn't because they are weak or lazy or undisciplined? What if we have been trying to solve the wrong problem all along? We keep waiting to feel motivated before we change our lives. But what if motivation was never supposed to carry us? Behind every smile is a story. Sometimes it's hope, sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's a struggle no one else can see. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Smile, where we have honest conversations about mental health because understanding always comes before healing. My name is Dr. Michelle Nicole, and I am your public mental health doctor. And today, I want to share a lesson I learned from walking through ancient caves where people survived in complete darkness. Because I believe that stories hold one of the most important lessons about mental well-being. I love exploring. Whenever I travel, you will always find me searching for places that tell stories. Old cities, forgotten parts, mountains, caves, you name it. There is something fascinating about standing inside a place where human beings once lived. Not for a few days, for years, sometimes generations. I remember walking through one cave and listening to the guide describing how families survived there. As we moved deeper inside, everything became darker. The deeper we went, the more I wondered, how did people live here? No electricity, no flashlights, no Google Maps, no supermarkets, no emergency services. Yet, somehow, they survived. Children grew up there. Families protected one another. Communities adapted. As I listened to the stories, one thought kept returning to me. These people couldn't possibly have survived by waking up every morning hoping they would feel motivated. Survival demanded something much stronger. There had to be predictable ways of doing things, shared knowledge, daily routines, people who knew their role, ways of finding food, ways of finding safety, ways of finding their way out of darkness. In other words, they had systems. That realization stayed with me long after I left the cave, because I started asking myself, if our ancestors needed systems to survive physical darkness, why do we think we can survive emotional darkness with motivation alone? Maybe that is why so many of us feel exhausted today. Not because we don't care about ourselves, but because we are trying to use motivation for a job it was never designed to do. We have been taught something from a very young age. If you want to change your life, get motivated. Watch another inspirational video. Read another quote. Wait until Monday. Wait until January. Wait until life settles down. Wait until you feel ready. The problem is, life doesn't wait. Stress doesn't wait. Grief doesn't wait. Burnout doesn't wait. Depression certainly doesn't wait. And neither does anxiety. If your well-being depends on feeling motivated, then your well-being becomes dependent on your emotions. But emotions change every single day. Think about brushing your teeth. Most mornings, you probably don't wake up feeling inspired to brush your teeth. You simply do it, not because motivation appeared, but because it has become part of your system. Now, imagine if we approached our mental health the same way. Instead of asking, do I feel like taking care of myself today? Probably we should ask, what does my system tell me to do today? That's a completely different life because systems reduce the number of decisions you have to make. And when life becomes difficult, that's exactly what your brain needs. The less energy you spend deciding, the more energy you have for healing. People sometimes ask me how I manage my own well-being. They assume I'm always motivated. But the truth is, I'm not. I simply know motivation isn't reliable. So I decided to build systems. Every year, I try my best to at least hike once. Not because hiking fixes everything, but because nature reminds me how small my problems sometimes are. And every year, I intentionally travel. I love to explore. Sometimes I combine my travels with conferences because I love learning while experiencing different cultures. Every Sunday, I call a friend and we have a chat. Talk about everything and anything, and we listen and definitely not judge. And every last Sunday of every month, I intentionally meet one of my friends to catch up. I protect my sleep by going to bed around the same time most nights. None of these guarantee perfect mental health, but together they quietly protect it. Here is what I think many people misunderstand. When someone suddenly burns out, it usually wasn't sudden. When someone experiences emotional exhaustion, it usually wasn't overnight. When someone reaches a crisis, the crisis often started long before anyone noticed. Why? Because systems don't collapse in a single day. They slowly weaken. Recovery disappears, connection disappears, reflection disappears, sleep becomes inconsistent, healthy routines become optional. Eventually, the mind begins carrying a weight it was never designed to carry alone. We often blame ourselves. I'm not disciplined. I'm lazy. I'm failing. Instead, ask yourself, what systems disappeared from my life? And the solution isn't becoming a different person. The solution is rebuilding the structures that quietly supported you before. Think about a bridge. Bridges don't suddenly collapse because one car drove across. They collapse after years of tiny weaknesses that were never repaired. Mental health often works the same way. Small daily systems strengthen us. Small daily neglect weaken us, which means the opposite is also true. Small daily improvements become powerful over time. Here is what I hope you remember from today's episode. Stop waiting to become motivated enough to take care of yourself. Instead, become curious about the systems you're building. Ask yourself, Do I have a recovery system? Do I have a sleep system, a learning system, a support system, a reflection system? Because one day, life will become difficult. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because that's part of being human. When that day comes, motivation may disappear, but your systems can still carry you. That is why I believe mental well-being isn't something we achieve once. It's something we design. One routine, one relationship, one decision, one system at a time. So this week, don't try to change your whole life. Build one system, protect it, repeat it, because when life feels dark, it won't be motivation that guides you home. It will be the systems you built before the darkness arrived. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who keeps waiting for the right time to take care of themselves. And if you are looking to intentionally build your own personal mental health system, or you are a leader wanting to create mentally healthier, high-performing workplaces, I would love to work with you. Subscribe for more conversations on mental health, resilience, and systems that help people thrive. Until next time, remember, behind every smile is a story, and every story deserves understanding before healing.